I haven't drank, I haven't smoked, I haven't taken any illicit or illegal substances in nearly 5 years, but let me be honest with you, I am still struggling with this bloody glowing rectangle on a weekly basis, and I have tried so many things to turn myself from being chronically online to hopefully having a healthy offline, digitally minimalistic life, but it is very difficult. I've learned a few things along the way. In this video, I'm going to be sharing how I've been able to split up my week and gain back time and find the focus to read hundreds of books and build a great business and have a great physical practice and all these things and all the practical things and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But I need to be so honest with you from the beginning. I have not figured this out yet. I'm still trying to figure this out, and my understanding of trauma has allowed me to make connections to trauma bonding with technology being the absolute core foundation of this issue. For me personally, maybe for you, maybe you can relate to this, those moments in childhood where something was happening with mom or dad, maybe the environment was either unengaging at best or outright abusive at worst, and you had your games console or the television, or maybe you're young enough to be able to have a smartphone or the internet in your hand from childhood going forwards. You trauma bonded with technology to keep yourself safe, or at the very least dissociated and disconnected from an environment that you didn't want to be in. That is my personal story. That's as far as I can go into understanding why am I spending yet another hour on the internet when it's way past my bedtime? Why am I feeling the desire to pick up my phone on a Monday when I don't use my phone on a Monday? Why am I still hooked on the screen? Trauma-informed awareness allows me to identify that it is because I have some degree of chronic trauma bonding and dissociative escapist tendency, which started, if I can remember correctly, probably from about the age of 3 onwards, because that's where my memory takes me, to watching cartoons on the television and then playing Pokemon on my Nintendo from around age 5 or 6 onwards. I continued this all the way through up to RuneScape at age 10. I then started playing things like RuneScape and shooter games on consoles, and then got very into things like World of Warcraft and League of Legends. I was massively hooked on video games, but it's not about the video games. It was the screen. It's the screen in particular. It's the thing that you're watching me on right now. There's something about this portal into another reality which is the most inviting and irresistible possible avenue of escape for anyone who doesn't want to exist in their own body or in the home that they're trapped inside. And I still fall into it today, not because I live in a traumatic neighborhood or I've got all kinds of drama in my immediate reality. In fact, it's very much the opposite. I have wonderful offline grounding habits. I love taking barefoot walks in nature. I live out in the countryside. I've got incredible close relationships. I have such a meaningful, fulfilling business. I have systems and structures in place so that on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I don't use social media. Recently, I've been posting and ghosting to keep some consistency on Instagram, but I don't go and scroll, I don't watch any stories, I don't open messages. 3 whole days every single week, I don't do that. I've been doing that for years. But still, even then, late at night when the work's done, it's 2 a.m, I'm watching too many YouTube videos. In the middle of the afternoon, before filming, maybe even this video, not today in particular, I haven't done it today, but imagine literally before filming the video on internet addiction, I start scrolling my phone just for 15 minutes of escapism. What's happening in that moment? Because my awareness of being chronically online based on this trauma response from childhood isn't enough to actually solve the problem, because if it was, I would have figured this out. I figured out drink, and I figured out illicit substances going on 5 years, cutting out those things. I've got very, very strong boundaries and a very intentional mindset when it comes to the majority of my life. But this is still escaping me. And I think it's because I need to accept, and I've mostly accepted, that I'm always going to have a dissociative, escapist tendency based on my own particular childhood conditioning. Some people have different survival strategies that don't involve screens. For example, there are those kinds of people who do it through love addiction. They're always chasing romantic connection, and rather than being scrolling on social media, they'll always be on the phone to their lover, or they'll always be showing up into their bedroom. Other people might just be socialites. They're always going out, they're always partying. It might not even be about the substances, they just want to be around people. Other people go really deep into fitness. They go deep into whatever the thing might be, but primarily it's understanding beneath any single symptom there's that escapist drive. And if you know that you have that escapism and there's a wound that you're running away from, I don't think it's enough. And this is where it's a controversial thing to say in this video. You're used to seeing me talk about trauma solutions and how you can read psychology books and bring about the healing to be able to fix yourself. Sometimes you can't fix the wound all the way. Sometimes even if you bandage yourself up to the best of your possible capacity, there will always be some of the wound which never heals. And I think I've accepted that. I think I've accepted that, unlike with drink or with substances, which I can keep out of my home and not go to bars and not be around people who enjoy those things, I am always going to need this. Some people don't need to do what I do, but I show up on the internet as someone who's trying to share interesting ideas, and also with my business when I'm working one-to-one with people, I need to use technology to be able to connect and be able to really make a difference in the way that I want to with my career, with my intentional chosen path. I need to be able to use this technology, and I've learned how to use social media and how to create a presence online, and I really appreciate that. At the same time, that particular use of technology is quite distinct from the consumption-based, trauma-based response which I still get caught up in. And I still haven't figured it out. You can leave me a comment if you found a solution for this. Honest answer, more of a conversational video. I can't even teach from a place of completion. I haven't figured this out. I haven't figured it out. It's still an issue. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I can bypass the issue almost entirely because I just don't pick up my phone. But it's almost like the phone becomes this portal, this very instantly accessible portal into all kinds of escapism. Up until recently, actually within the last year, I didn't have mobile internet on my phone. I had mobile internet once when I bought a new SIM card, I think about 11 years ago, and I had credit back then, but I went over 10 years of having, I think, a BlackBerry and then eventually getting an iPhone where I couldn't even text or call anyone from my phone. I could receive texts and calls, but I couldn't use the internet. I couldn't be at the bus stop going to college. I couldn't do any of that stuff that people find normal, and I knew I needed to hold that boundary because I would get hooked into the screens, and thank goodness I knew back then, because I think it's meant that I've been able to have an adult life on the internet, or using that internet as part of my business and part of my way of connecting around the world, because people like you and me don't tend to exist in too many normal public spaces, so we use the internet as a way of connecting. But I realized even back then, if I have the ability to dissociate onto my phone in any possible moment where I'm bored, this is no good for me. And recently, because I needed a internet strength increase for my client work, I decided to get some mobile data, and generally speaking, my life hasn't been consumed by it. I still go out on a walk and I don't start scrolling while I'm on a walk, but I do notice certain moments. When I'm at the gym, occasionally I will open up Instagram and I'll have a little bit of a scroll or watch some stories. That never used to happen. I used to be able to compartmentalize my consciousness, and I still do this. I wouldn't be able to read the way that I read. I wouldn't be able to focus and work the way I focus if I didn't know how to do this to some degree. But maybe this is my inner ambitious kind of the strongest possible, clearest possible boundaries that I can make. It's still frustrating for me. It's still so frustrating because you can't just cut it off. You can't just cut off all social media. You see people who are saying, oh, I'll do a digital detox, or, I'm just going to delete all of my apps. If you've ever had a friend, or if you've ever been someone who's just deleted your apps, you know that within a certain number of days, weeks, or months, you are back on the apps. I have yet to meet someone who's completely unplugged themselves from social media and been able to stay off social media permanently, unless they have no requirement to use the internet for personal career or personal connections, and that is a very, very, very rare individual. Maybe someone living out in a homestead with their own family, maybe a man or a woman who has no need to be on the internet. That works for them. It's a completely unrealistic suggestion for most people, and you might get a bit of a dopamine detox, brain rewiring experience every now and again. I've done somewhere between 25 to 30 water fasts. I've had these experiences when I fasted of both clearing out my body and not using my phone, and those consciousness benefits stack up during the 2, 3, 4, 5 days that you're doing this. Guess what? A month later, you're back on social media, and it's the same portal that you were dealing with in the first place. It's not the same as leaving the drink at the supermarket. It's not the same as dropping the bad relationship. There's something really tricky about this, and the permanent solution doesn't seem to work in the long term. I found great success in doing Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays being my offline days, but even then, with the interesting opportunity that I have to build out this interesting, whatever, digital persona of Jordan Thornton in a work on the internet and be able to reach people and share educational material, I'm posting every day on Instagram, and I could schedule it, but I don't like that automation because I want to send it out with a blessing and a prayer because I'm weird and I want to have some kind of soul in my business. I don't want to just automate everything. I have to post and ghost. I go in and I do it and I get out, and that's fine. But I can't fully detach, and I wouldn't want to fully detach because I want to be able to connect with clients and friends and be able to watch stories. I only follow a handful of people, I think less than 30 people. I'm so intentional. So many things are in place, but it still doesn't work. So where do we go? Is this just a video where Jordan's going to rant and complain that he hasn't got this figured out? Maybe. Maybe that's all I'm doing on this video, a bit of a genuine human moment that I just haven't figured this out. And I don't know if I can. I'm not giving up. It's not a feeling of I'm expecting that I'm going to spend all of my time scrolling every single day. I have very healthy habits in place. I have a much more conscious relationship with technology than most people, but I also recognize with that extra consciousness that the roots run so deep. And unlike the Pokemon game that I was playing when I was 5, which is engaging, but then of course boring at a certain point because you're fighting the same kind of monsters over and over again to level up, you now have the ability to see anything all of the time. For me personally, that novelty kind of scroll response where you're seeing fitness the next moment and there's a nature video the next moment and then you're seeing something funny related to a cat the moment after, it's not necessarily bad things I'm seeing. I'm not looking at reality TV and gossip. It's like, oh yeah, some more educational material. I can change this with my front levers, and oh, that would be a nice place to go to in the future when I go out and film some educational videos in the forests of America. I'm in that kind of consciousness, but I'm still scrolling like this. It's a different game entirely. It's a different game entirely. You can have healthy boundaries. You can stop yourself being chronically online by being compartmentalized. Cut your week in half. Have a limit on the day. Turn off your phone. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think it resolves the deeper question. We are faced with an unresolved question of what do we do with humans who've got the ability to dissociatively escape into any kind of reality just like that. It's going to get even more terrifying when VR and augmented reality become a normal part of our day-to-day life, because people will start choosing online living over offline living at an increasing rate. We're already doing it. We think that VR isn't here, but most people are walking around with this in their hands, and I likewise have fallen victim to this when I've had a limited amount of time in my day and I'm posting something on the walk back from the gym rather than actually being in my body, and I have lost consciousness. I have lost so many moments of consciousness, and it frustrates me. Because why is this still happening? And yet the solution isn't just to throw it all away, because sometimes we need to be online. It's a big question. It's a big unresolved question. One of the rare moments in this channel where I haven't got a solution. I've got a partial solution. I haven't got a full solution. If you do have a full solution, leave it down in the comments section, because I think we're all struggling with this to one degree or another. It doesn't matter your intelligence. It doesn't matter how conscious you are. If you're on this platform, and you are because you're watching this on YouTube, you have fallen into moments where you're watching way too much, way too often. Let's help each other out. Let's just start a conversation down in the comments, and I will be looking very closely and taking notes, not on my phone. And by the way, if you've wondered where is the question, this was the question for today. Someone asked me about reading a Kindle versus reading a book, and it inspired this entire completely unrelated video where I thought, okay, of course you need to read the physical book. Of course you need an actual book like The Meaning of Anxiety by Rolla May. I didn't present this. Interesting. The Meaning of Anxiety. I wonder if there's a random page that'll be interesting here. Oh, no. Can't get two synchronicities in one video. I was seeing if there'd be a highlight that would relate to our video, but the offline book is Healing for Your Consciousness. And I thought, you know what, no one's going to click on a video just about Kindle versus real books. It's a very niche, very nerdy video. Let's talk about the wider issue, which is online versus offline behaviors, how to stack up your day with more earthy, fleshy things like reading with a highlighter in the sun rather than having a Kindle in bed with artificial light. All of these small wins, all of these stacked up situations, because if you do want to know why I have bought every single book, it's because I used to have a Kindle. Kindle broke while I was traveling. I spent 2 years backpacking and working on farms and a variety of things like this. My Kindle broke about halfway through that, and I realized, you know what, I'm just going to travel with physical books instead. So my backpack that I had, this is so bizarre to think about it, but it's just my character. Random story. It was a carry-on bag, so I think it was a 10-kilogram carry-on bag, or a 40-litre or a 60-litre that you could take on a plane with you. And the bottom third of that bag would be my gymnastics rings and the straps and then some resistance bands. Then the next, portion, maybe 15%, 10 to 15%, would be actual books. And then only 50% of the bag, the carry-on bag that I travelled and lived out of, would be clothes and other possessions. 50% of it was exercise and education, which is an interesting moment, but I really wanted to prioritize embodiment. Me recognizing my dissociative tendencies, recognizing my own trauma history, recognizing my own trauma survival responses, and not seeing it as a permanent solution, not seeing myself as permanently fixed, but having a system, a process, and rules and behaviors which I adhere to increase my mental health and just prevent it from sliding back towards where it probably wants to go if I didn't leave those systems in place. That's the best that I've found to be able to practically move forwards, and it involves things like reading actual books and spending actual time offline, doing things that are actually offline. But it's not the full solution. It's not the full solution. Please let me know in the comment section, and after you've commented down there, I'm going to paradoxically do the thing. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to do the thing. This is normally the moment where I say go and watch another video and I point up over here. We're not going to do that. That's inauthentic. Why would I do that? Why would I make a video on internet addiction and then be like, go and watch my next video and go and watch more video? Nonsense. We're not going to do that. Leave me a comment in the comment section. That's all I want you to do. And I'll see you next time. In the comment section. Not on this video. Not on this video. I'm even watching myself go over here. There's no video over here. Just in the comment section. And then you close the app. And then you go for a bloody walk. And we're all much better.